Hello, welcome back. My name is Eleni, and I'm studying to become a women's health nurse practitioner. I love everything women's health, so we will be diving into everything women's health in this channel. So, in the previous video, if you haven't watched, I encourage you to go watch. But today we are going to be talking about the menstrual cycle. And just a quick disclaimer, medical disclaimer, this is in no way medical advice, but just for educational purposes only. Okay, so period power. What do I mean when I'm talking about period power? Well, when you understand how your period works, how your menstrual cycle works every month, then you can adapt your lifestyle and truly harness the power behind your period. If you are someone who suffers from pain during your menstrual cycle or heavy bleeding, irregular periods, these are all signs in telling us what is actually happening within our bodies. These are not just things that we should hide, we should cover up, but we should truly understand why they're happening. So, by understanding what is happening in our menstrual cycle, we can slowly uncover the symptoms that we may be feeling. Okay, so the first day of menstruation begins on the first day of our bleed. So, this also starts the follicular phase of our menstrual cycle. So we are going to feel a little tired, maybe a little sluggish on the first couple of days of menstruation. And this is completely normal because we have these two really important hormones that regulate our emotions and other important processes in our body, but they are going to be low. And so it is really important to honor this part of your cycle where you may just want to be in bed or on the couch and snuggle up and read a good book. And I'm going to be diving deeper into this in the next episode where I am going to tell you about the foods that you can nourish your body with, exercise, and etc. So, when we shed in the first couple of days, we are going to lose roughly around 35 to 80 milliliters of blood. And this is important to track. And I like to use a menstrual cup to understand how much blood is exiting through my opening. And so that I can see what if I'm losing too much, too little, and then further dive into why that may be happening, which is why tracking is so important, right? It's also important to note that if you're on birth control, then the menstrual cycle that you may think that you're having isn't exactly a menstrual cycle because it's not happening after you ovulate. Therefore, as I said in the previous video, it's a withdrawal bleed. It's when you don't have the synthetic hormones that are keeping your hormones stabilized, and so that is why you are bleeding. Around day 5 to 7, you may start to feel a bit more energy. You also may notice a decrease in blood that is coming out. And so this is primarily due to a rising hormone in our body, estrogen. So estrogen is mainly from our ovaries, but it can also come from fat and from our adrenal glands sitting on top of our kidneys. This is going to be really important for our ovulation and to build up our endometrial layer. Estrogen is really important, right? It plumps up our lips, it plumps up our face, it makes our cervical mucus a bit more sticky and more favorable to sperm, because what our body is getting ready for is ovulation. And with ovulation comes hopefully fertilization. That's what our body wants. So, a sign of a healthy menstrual cycle is going to be ovulation, ovulating every month. In the first half of our follicular phase, we are bleeding. In the second half of our follicular phase, we are building up that estrogen. We are getting ready to emit the egg from our ovaries. So, a quick little overview on our reproductive system. So, we have two ovaries and that connect to the uterus. And then we have the uterus, right? And then at the end of the uterus is our cervix. And technically speaking, every month we emit an egg from either ovary, either our left or our right. And the follicle that gets chosen to come out is stimulated by an important hormone called follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. So this hormone is especially crucial to stimulating that growth. Then in our follicular phase as well, we are also getting ready to not only grow that follicle, but also to expel it, right? So in order to expel it, we need to have a surge of luteinizing hormone. And a rise of LH and a rise of estrogen is going to be the perfect combination to emit that egg, and then the egg will travel through the fallopian tube and hopefully get fertilized by a sperm. And if it doesn't, then it turns into a corpus luteum. And so after ovulation, we are going to enter the luteal phase. So this is the second half of our cycle, which roughly, if you are talking about a 28-day cycle, starts on day 15 after ovulation. So after ovulation, we have either two choices in our body, whether to fertilize this egg or to regenerate, or to not fertilize the egg to not get pregnant. So when we go the latter half and we are not pregnant, then the corpus luteum secretes estrogen and progesterone for a little bit, but really we're going to have a rise in progesterone, and this is going to be the hormone that makes us calm. Have you ever met or have you ever heard of pregnancy brain, of the brain that you sort of lose track of things, of time, maybe because you are very calm? So this progesterone is extremely important for PMS symptoms. If we have a good amount of progesterone, we won't be feeling so anxious. So it is good to understand what exactly is happening in every part of our cycle. So in this luteal phase, we are also going to have a little surge of estrogen around day 21. And this is just a little like kickstarter for your body, for your uterus, if your body was getting ready for pregnancy. So you may even get a little sudden urge to want to get in bed. It's good to understand that this estrogen is going to be the hormone that makes you feel really good. So this is the luteal phase. It's going to begin after ovulation and last until your estrogen and progesterone go completely down. When your estrogen and progesterone drop, you are going to experience your bleed, which then is going to bring us all the way up to day 1 of your period. It's important to master what exactly is happening in your follicular, in your ovulatory phase, in your luteal phase, because each phase is different and requires different things. I like to track each phase by looking at my cervical mucus, which tells you a lot. It primarily tells you when you're ovulating, and you can also track your temperature. And for me, I use the Oura ring, which is super handy dandy. I've had it for many years, and I can tell you that from the beginning of tracking my cycle to now, my temperature has completely transformed 360. Before, when I used to have PMS symptoms and just have irregular periods, I wouldn't even see the temperature regulating itself. Now that I have a greater understanding of my body and I've done things to hopefully regulate my system, I can see exactly when I ovulate, and when I'm in my luteal phase, my temperature increases. And it's really wonderful to understand this, because then you feel like you are at home in your body, you're so comfortable with what's happening and you're able to adapt. So I like to either use apps to track my cycle or even writing it down in a journal. When it comes to apps, I know that there are certain apps that will share your data and some that don't. I personally, I use about 5 apps, but I've been using Clue for a very long time and just started using Glow and find that they both help. On your Oura ring too, if you have one of these, it does allow you to track as well. So yeah, I hope that with watching this, you're able to understand your menstrual cycle now. It's so important to honor this superpower of yours. And I'll leave it with this quick fact that there are about 12 hysterectomies happening every 10 minutes in the United States, which equals to about 6,000 per year. A lot of women feel helpless when it comes to their superpower, and they feel like the only choice that they have is to take their uterus out. Of course, I understand if one it has cancer and needs to take out their ovaries or their uterus because of that, but there are tons of women out there that are getting hysterectomies not for this purpose, but because that their uterus, their ovaries have been causing them so much pain all their life. So I hope that this sheds light on your superpower, and I hope to see you in the next video where we will be closely diving into the menstruating part of your menstrual cycle.